Can we have ourselves an open and honest conversation? Because once upon a time, I'll be honest with you, I thought Lando Norris was the next one up. Neo in the Matrix settings, that if there was anyone on the grid currently not named Maximilian Verstappen of those 19 that was capable of taking it to Maximilian Verstappen over the course of a 24 race season, I was convinced that Lando had next, that he had all the capability, all of the racecraft, all of the strategic awareness and the 200 level race IQ requisite to challenge himself and Maximilian Verstappen. I was convinced of it. As your exhibit A, you only need to go and look at Sochi 2021. Not necessarily his decision making on that occasion, but just the fact that he could handle himself some Sir Lewis Hamilton, a charging Sir Lewis Hamilton. That's got to count for something, hasn't it? Surely, at this stage. He is a brilliant peddler, super young too. He's not yet even got to his final form, you could make the case. However, of late, listening to this chap, I'm starting to question myself on a couple of different counts, not least of which are whether this dude has the mental fortitude to deliver upon that promise, to realise his not insubstantial potential, the upside of that. Why do you say that, Cameron? Well, you know what? He's got a racing team, hasn't he? Young Lando. Lando no wins. A team called Quadrant, virtual racing settings. And they were racing the other day. And again, you can go and watch this on YouTube if you don't believe me and or want to fact check my maths. They were racing the other day. And there were brilliant sim racers, one of which is Lando Norris. Jarno Opmeer was competing in there too. And you had your influencers. And one of the influencers says, you know what, I'm going to try and smash this race. I'm going to try and catch Jarno and pass him. Unrealistic settings, that's never going to happen. Jarno Opmeer is probably the best, the single best sim racer there has ever been in life. You're not going to catch and pass him if indeed you are a social influencer and not a professional racer. Ambitious, to say the least. To which Lando Norris responded thus: that's never going to happen, mate. That's like me saying that I'm going to win the F1 championship this year. And I thought, hang on, Lando. Self-deprecating is absolutely a redeeming feature. It's endearing indeed. However, this is a difference in extents and not kinds now, Lando. Surely at some point, chap, you need to back yourself if indeed you harbour aspirations of beating Maximilian, 3 soon to be 4-time World Drivers' Champion. Surely sometimes the negative talk overreaches. Indeed, it permeates through to outcomes, performance in the real world. And this troubles me as a one-time Lando Norris fan. I will be honest with you. He goes and gives an interview with Sky Sports F1's Craig Slater. And again, diatribes on what he needs to do. Negativity settings. Some have said that Lando is a glass half empty type driver and that he can't help himself, even sometimes by his own admission. But here is my contention, therefore. When you're driving alongside an Oscar Jack Piastri, there's got to be a point at which you say enough is enough with the negative Nancing, with the self-doubting, with the down-talking. Surely, Lando, you want to go and see someone about this chap, because it is dripping through to your performances in real time. Don't believe me? Let me give you some examples. Each and every single time that Lando puts it on pole, which has been rare career to date, what happens to him as at lap 2? He goes down. He's flotsam and jetsam F1 each and every single time. Don't believe me? Exhibit A, qualified on the pole. By the end of lap 2, he's lost 2 places and is in 3rd place. Please see Spain, similar thing. Qualifies on pole. By the end of lap 2, he's lost himself 2 places and is in 3rd. Same thing, China Grand Prix, the Spanish, the sprint race even. Puts it on pole. By the end of lap 2, he's in 7th. He's indeed lost himself 6 places. This is becoming a repetitive pattern, even a habit that Lando needs to fix for. And we know there's been anomalies. You only need to look at the Spanish Grand Prix. And he's talked about there was a glitch in him changing up. It had nothing to do with his reaction time. The launch was perfect. But as he switched from first to second, the car let him down. Andrea Stella indeed backs him up on this. However, Andrea Stella has also talked about needing to look at more closely the reason why Lando Norris keeps losing positions at the start of these Grand Prix. Because for the avoidance of doubt, if he harbours aspirations of winning championships, he's going to need to beat himself, a 3, soon to be 4-time champion called Maximilian Verstappen. What's the line of least resistance, I ask you, if you want to beat yourself for Max Verstappen? Surely qualifying on pole and lights the flag victories, just like Seb Vettel used to do in 2010 through 2013. Max Verstappen is not a cakewalk to overtake. You want to avoid the wheel-to-wheel combat with him almost altogether if indeed you want yourself an easy life. So I say all that to say this. If indeed Lando harbours aspirations of winning himself a championship, then he needs to address the bad starts. But more pertinently, more importantly than that and saliently, he needs to address the negative Nancing. Because on the other side of the garage, in that other papaya-coloured car, he has himself a killer in Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri, the one thing that he doesn't have in bucket loads is self-doubt. Okay, so too, he's not yet in his final form. Again, there are issues as far as translating quali to race pace, but those are happening more and more infrequently now. Last couple of Grand Prix are proof positive in that he's becoming now. As far as momentum, I would argue that Lando's doing one of these right at the time when Oscar Piastri is doing one of these, crescendoing, becoming himself. Oscar Piastri, for the avoidance of that, gave an interview to Sky Sports F1 where he was asked, are you ruthless enough to win yourself a championship? Oscar Piastri's response was thus: don't mistake the stoicism for me not being ruthless enough. I am plenty ruthless enough, said Oscar Jack Piastri, to win myself races and championships, but I don't need to be a douchebag. I don't need to get all animated to be ruthless. This is something that I have in here. A certain self-assuredness is what comes across in bucket loads when we are talking about Oscar Piastri. So I say all that to say this. The stats will tell you one thing. When you look currently season to date at their average finishing position, Lando Norris 4.6, Oscar Piastri 5.1. But just like McLaren and Red Bull, all the other teams are converging. The story is similar if you look at their individual. Oscar Piastri is doing one of these to Lando Norris. It's getting closer and closer, and Oscar Piastri is only in his sophomore season. Oh, the humanity. I say all of that then to say this. There are 2 McLaren drivers. One of those McLaren drivers is gaining materially in terms of his momentum. Both of those McLaren drivers not reached their final form yet, but one of them exudes confidence, stoicism. One of them is talking more and more like a champion. One of them is learning how to translate his not insubstantial qualifying pace to now race pace. One of them is becoming exponentially more dangerous as far as a championship candidate and their championship prospects than the other. As at the 1st of the 8th, 2024, that driver, that championship level driver with that exponential championship mentality, that McLaren driver has a name. His name is Oscar Jack Piastri. But I digress.